Hi, I'm Rick DiClemente for I think, 265th time, something like that. Welcome to Astrology Unplugged. Nice to have you with us, and nice for you YouTubers to join us. What we have seen through time is this is really pretty much a show about getting better at doing astrology. This isn't really one of these shows where I have a lot of cleavage and tell you about the coming weekend. I think that's how we could end it real quick. Uh, I do think it's coming to an end. I don't know for sure, but I do think after all this time, I'm getting a little tired of doing astrology. 44 years, but I don't know when, and I'm not sure. I'm waiting for the wind to blow me in the right direction, but it gets a little old talking about the same things for 44 years. Anyhow, I don't know. We'll see. Tonight, I'm glad to be with you. I'm excited because I'm going to go a little bit heavier into the things that will help you become an astrologer. And I didn't realize till I took a zoom out at my career and all the videos I've done, etc. There's a lot of stuff out there for you for free. There's a lot of stuff to learn. And my job last week and tonight is to talk to you about how to not get discouraged, how to keep at it, et cetera, et cetera. I was thinking about a feather today. I got a lot of things tonight in no particular order. I was thinking about a feather or a leaf. And when you watch a feather come down, there's no way you can push the feather down. It's going to go like this. It's going to go gradually like this until it comes down. And just like with learning astrology, you're going to go up in a gradual manner. You can't push it up. You can't become good overnight. You can't push it. All you can do is keep looking, keep studying, keep reading. Don't apply all this ridiculous pressure on yourself. Just keep looking and looking and looking. You wouldn't believe if you sat here in my house with me and watched me read for people. There are a lot of times I'm real stuck. I'm real stuck reading certain charts. They're not easy. But what I have learned is lots of tricks. When I'm stuck, what to do. When I'm stuck, what to do. And the main trick is to leave it alone. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. And what will happen as you read for the person, because you're being guided. You're being guided. What will happen is you'll start to get repetitive themes. Well, I just saw this theme where you're kind of closed down emotionally. Well, I just saw this other theme where you're kind of closed down emotionally. Well, I just saw this other theme. Well, now we got a theme that we got to talk about. Hello, Judy. So don't try to read a piece and oh, I just found the secret to the chart. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Just keep reading and keep using a pencil and not a pen. Write lightly with a pencil. Once you start getting repetitive themes, then you're on to something. And you're not that good in the beginning at weighting a chart. How much weight should I give this? How much weight should I give that? But as time goes on, you'll learn. You'll learn. This is much more important. That's not the story. That's the story. Right there's the story. You'll learn that instantly. You'll get better at it. So I wanted to start off by reading you a wonderful email that was sent to me by John. And I really, it really hit me in a lot of ways last week. I want you to understand why. He sends me little notes now and then. And John can be very quiet on the show, but he's very thoughtful and deep thinker going on when you're not hearing him. He wrote, when you read my chart, I already knew the things that you found in a way, but I didn't know them because they were too good to be true. We're talking about archetypes. Once you told me them, it was as as if you were a fisherman catching treasure fish. I had buried them within myself. So you help me to know them as true. I see other people having the same experience in these sessions. What you and good astrology do for people is priceless. Now, I appreciate that more than anything I think I've ever received. But there's another reason for that. It made me see what I was doing that I was taking for granted. Because I've always said I do three things. I give you a different perspective of yourself, which can be very significant. I validate what you're already thinking and feeling, which can be really important. And I pass out diplomas because I very much enjoy watching people get launched and being a trigger behind it. I don't know why. It's just the way I am. But what you made me realize after months of watching you sit there and watch you sit there and watching you sit there, I realized people are very busy in their brain, especially a Gemini man. People are very busy. You got lots of thoughts in there. And without astrology, you don't know which one is more important than which one. You don't know where it emanates from, et cetera, et cetera. And astrology gives you it's not complete, but it gives you a very strong basis to understand, through which to understand your chart. And when we look at the Gemini that's in John, okay. But when we look at the Scorpio that's in John, completely different story. And John knew in his own way that he had Gemini, and he's known that he has Scorpio. But through time in this room and through readings, he has gotten into more and more into perspective. So it's really helped me to realize that I'm here to help you to realize. That's why sometimes I really exaggerate heavily. I get real animated on purpose. I have some people I've been reading recently. The planets have been so heavy. Some of them have been getting like fanatical with it. This is so intense. I want them to see how big this really is. It's not just sort of, it is. And see, that's one of the good things about being me. I got the good fortune of having read for so long that I feel safe saying what I'm saying. If I say a problem is, it's not that big a deal. But if I see something else that's a phenomenal talent, go, get on it, go. I had a couple recently like that. But anyhow, that's where that comes from. So thank you once again, Mr. John. You have the disadvantage of being non-astrologers that are becoming astrologers. And there's just this gradual curve that takes place. It's just gradual. And I told you mine went on for 44 years and I had a 20-year low. 20 years where I really wasn't feeling like I was gaining much. I was raising a child, of course, but astrologically. And I think during those 20 years, I kept doing charts. I kept reading. I think I was still building and still growing and unconsciously. Because what's happening is you're doing charts, you're learning more and more and more and more and more about the planets, about in different situations, more and more and more about signs, more and more about combinations, more and more about weirdism. Why is this? I don't know. Why is this? I do know. Why is this? I don't know. Why is this? I do not know. So you just keep at it, you keep at it, you keep at it, and you don't strain. And the number one thing you do is you don't beat yourself up. Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. That's really bad. And it takes a while to get over that. So when you start to read something and the client says, no, that doesn't make sense. So you go, and the client says, no, that doesn't make sense. Don't worry about it. Okay? A lot of times, you know the client better than they do. Okay? A lot of times. A lot of times, you're not picking the right words. That I call it speaking the same linguini. Okay? So keep at it. Don't be discouraged. You're looking at something. You're on to something. You maybe don't understand how much it should be weighted, but you just take your time. Take your time. Believe me, you're getting much better faster than you think. I have a lot of things written down tonight, which is not my style usually. People can fool you. People have egos. People have a natural defense mechanism to the public. People want to look good to the world. It's just natural human instinct. And a lot of times when you're reading something, a lot of people get scared to death because they think that you're putting a big magnifier inside their soul. And in some ways you are. So you got to really watch what your intention is. They're going to pick up on you. My intention is good, it's pure. I mean to help you. I don't mean to mess with you. And they feel that and they know that. And if yours isn't, good luck. People want you to help them, and they can sense if you're real or not. I told you last week, they're very helpful. They will help you interpret things. A lot of times I don't interpret some, but I'll say, what is this thing here? And they'll go, well, maybe it's that. And I'll go, no. I'll say, well, maybe it's this. And they'll go, yeah, that's it. That's it. So they're looking for, and it takes you a while. It always takes me about 40 minutes in a reading to start clicking. And it stops, the chart ends at 70. Almost all my readings, almost all of them, and start clicking at 40 and stop at 70. And I've done it so much that I'm pretty much a believer. The reason it ends at 70 is you've got the message across. They've seen themselves in different kind of angles. And if you go on much more, you're going to ruin it. Turn that masterpiece into a mud pie. Because too much information, just too much stuff. Give them the main stuff. Talk about the main stuff. I'm sure there are other astrologers that could come after my reading and add to what I've read for you and add a lot to it because they might be much better at seeing finer detail, etc. But I don't care. That's not my thing. My thing is to step in. What's the story? Let's talk about the major story. Let's talk about the major parts. And let's get those discussed to a point where you understand them and let it go. If you want to come back, you'll come back later. When? You'll come back when you feel like you need to. A lot of people ask you, when do I come back? In a year? No. Come back when you feel like you need to come back. 3 times a month, 3 times a decade. I don't know. I got a lot of people this week coming back to me I haven't seen in 15 years. But they remember it somehow. So don't let people fool you. They'll give you a hard time consciously and unconsciously. They want you to say what they want to hear. And you can't do it. Yes, that John's a son of a bitch. I'd better leave him. Or maybe John ain't a son of a bitch. Maybe you're the problem. Or maybe you both are. But I'm not going to get into no. That's the main job for psychics. Yes, he's a son of a bitch and you should leave him. That's the main thing psychics do. He's a son of a bitch and you should leave him. I've heard him talk about it and whisper in the back of these fairs about tell them what they want to hear. Can't do it. You tell them what you see. Tell them what you see. And a lot of times you're going to see things that aren't too happy and you really shouldn't talk about them because it's really hard to express them properly. And your job's not to scare them. Your job, in my opinion, is to enhance them, make them feel better, make them open up to the God that's inside of them. That's your job. It's hard stuff. So in the beginning, when you make a mistake, make the mistake by staying quiet. I can't tell you how it hurts me to see students I've taught for years and years, and they go out and they start blabbing their mouth. And I can't do anything about it. It's their karma. I told them not to. You can't stop them. They're going to do it. Most of them are pretty good there. Okay. Start with one piece. I told you last week, 4 kinds of things in a chart. Things that you know, things that you don't know, but they're what did I say? Buzzing, flashing. They're flashing. There's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but let's talk about it. Let's investigate it. That's where the goodies are in a chart. There are things in a chart that you'll never know, and there are things that are karmic. Karmic stuff is very difficult. It's taken me a long time to whip this 12th harmonic into shape, to learn how to master the 12th harmonic, which is past lives, in comparison to the natal chart. You're not going to start reading the 12th harmonic right away. It's going to take you time. That's about the past life. I want to give you a story here. I'm giving you different stories tonight because I think it will really help you. I don't know if you want to become an astrologer, if you want to become half an astrologer, or if you want to just find out more about it, whatever. If you want to find out more about it as underlayings to the kind of work that you do, it usually fits right underneath whatever you want to do. Say I'm in California and you come up to me and you say, what I want to say to you is, we are weathermen. And when I do men and female, I don't mean the men are better than females. I just talk about males. That's just how I talk. So give me a break. Say, we are weathermen. We are weather people. We can sense what the weather is. By looking at the planets today, last week, next month, I can pretty much tell you when the weather's going to change. When the planetary weather is going to change, when it's going to get fiery, when you're likely to get angry, when you're likely to run into doldrums, etc. So somebody comes up to me and I'm in California, they say, I want to go to Hawaii. Maybe it's Susan, and Susan wants to take her van and drive it to Hawaii, and she ain't going to get far. Well, if I study the planets for tomorrow, and the planets show all the winds are, and you got a sailboat, and all the winds are blowing to Alaska, you are not going to Hawaii tomorrow, unless you do some hell of a jigging thing. I don't know what they call it, some laborious efforts. But the next day, look, lo and behold, the wind is blowing directly from San Francisco right to Hawaii. That doesn't mean you're going to go to Hawaii either. That means that the wind is blowing to Hawaii. So why does it mean that you're not going? Because I have to insert research. I have to find out what happened to you the last 10 times you were going somewhere and the wind was blowing towards where you were going. And what happened? I'm not playing magician here. What happened? You wrecked the boat 8 times. You turned over 6 times. Well, the odds are, tomorrow you're not going to Hawaii either, unless you're going to boat lessons, sailing lessons. Now, if I interview you and we talk, and you've gotten to Hawaii 4 times out of 5, you have a pretty good chance. You understand? That's what an astrologer does. He reads what the weather is, but he starts to merge it with who you are. Your interview skills are absolutely critical. Your interviewing skills are absolutely critical. I think I'm pretty good at it. I'm blessed with it, so I'm very happy. One of the things I do, you gotta be careful here. I don't want to hear a long story about how your mom and dad abused you. First of all, I'm worn out. I've done this for too long. Secondly, it ain't helping you. I don't want to hear long stories why your mom was abusive or dad was abusive. If I start to sense a little bit of trouble, I usually do this. If I sense trouble with a mom and dad, rarely I will ask for their birth time and chart. They don't know the birth time, I'll just do the chart. Oh, I had a really nasty Gemini mother. And if it really goes on for a while, I want to see that Gemini chart. And I want to go, oh, yeah, I see why. And then I put it away. I don't want you dwelling on what went wrong. And I don't want you telling me about how you're a victim, because my job is to unvictim you. So I'll say this. I came up with a question years ago and I use it repetitively all the time. It is very helpful to me. I do not want a long story. I want to talk to you. I would like to ask you, what is your mom's sign, whether she's alive or not? And between the ages of 5 and 15, how did you feel when you were with your mother? Between the ages of 5 and 15, how did you feel when you were with your mother? Oh, we started to do this and she would do that. And I don't want to hear about what you did. I want to know how you felt when you were with her. And about half the people will start to tell you how they felt, and about the other half will go like this. And it's stunning. I've had men in my office where I've asked, with you and your father between the ages of 5 and 15, how did you feel? And that's really frightening. Because what it tells you with compassion coming out of your heart, what it tells you is the dad was so bad that the kid only learned how to freeze. You don't get into judgment. You don't take sides. You just know that as a little kid, this kid was not safe with his dad. You don't need to know why. Then he wants to start telling you about how his dad was an alcoholic. I don't want to hear it. All I know is that when you were growing, you took your flower, you took your art, you took it to your parents. And what did your parent do? Did your parents say, oh, what a good job, Johnny? Or did he just crush it and throw it away? That tells you a lot. That's all you need. Now, sometimes when it gets really weird, you'll ask for the dad's chart or the mom's chart. And you'll see, oh boy, this has been going on for lifetimes. So you want to know what this child has been grown with. You don't need a lot of detail. And if you let people go, people want to be a victim. People want to be a victim. They want to play the violin, and you can't let them do it. Because if they're with you, they're there hopefully to try to help themselves, and that's your job too. Now, sometimes some people, I've seen it, are so damaged that they need a therapist and they need something way beyond you. I had a guy tell me once that he was really named Joan, and that I forget who's the blonde chick that's going through all the news all the time. You know, her father kept her money. Remember?
Spears?
Who?
Britney Spears?
Right. Britney Spears was trying to kill him. Britney Spears was trying to kill him. He would lay in bed at night and watch her write in blood on the ceiling. So he was very, 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 very sick. And I kept talking to him about getting professional help. So sometimes you'll get people extreme like that. And I felt so bad for him. Nothing I can do. Okay. Beyond the realm of astrology. But in most cases, what you'll get is you'll get a child who mom was okay and dad was just a pain. And what you find out a lot of is the parent was not available. period. The parent was not available. And it's unbelievable how often that is. It's at least half the time. At least half the time, the parent was not available to the kid. What's that mean? To talk to the kid, play with him a little, not rub a dub all the time, but fix them some meals, talk to them. Ooh, that's good. A little bit of feedback, little human to human contact. I think that's expected as a little kid. Unbelievable how many people don't get that. In my experience, I have learned that the client has chosen them and the parents have chosen that role because of karmic issues, because of past lives. They've taken this lifetime to have certain experiences. And a lot of times they have parents that they want to be dead to them, because they're learning certain soul experiences. That's a different level of astrology that's much more difficult. But anyhow, you want to get a basic idea that mom kind of treated you okay, dad didn't. And you want to know things like, when you came home with straight A's on the report card and you handed it over, what did dad say? What did mom say? Dad just goes, harumph. And mom went, oh, that's great. Well, at least you got one person. So then what happens? Then you start to say, what did you do when you went out and picked your friends? Did you hide in a closet because nobody ever gave you feedback? Did you go see your friends? Did you over-friendly everybody? Did you have to be the center of the ball in high school? What did you do? Then when you came out of high school, what did you do when you got married? And almost everybody marries their parent. Almost everybody marries their parent that they didn't get along with. You're looking for Saturn problems. You're looking for people who don't know it, but they're spending their whole adult life trying to please dad because they couldn't please him in the childhood and they still keep trying it. You're looking for these repetitive themes. Now, I don't know why, but it seems like those kind of things seem to come full circle around their mid-60s. I'm just telling you my experience. But by mid-60s, people have just had it to here with the parent. They're looking for ways to bury them. They're looking for ways to forget them. They're looking for ways to get past it. They're looking for ways to repair it if they can. But these are things you're up against because you're looking at a person and a person has all these qualities and these abilities, but do they have the soil in which to plant them and watch it grow? That's what you're looking at. Okay. That's why I do the parent thing. I'm not blaming the parent. And in many, 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 many cases, I say, do you think if your mom and dad were in a diaper and a playpen, do you think they could have raised you? No. Can you see your dad in a diaper and a playpen, even though he's 40 years old? Yeah. What do you think he could have done raising you? Nothing. And a lot of times, the kid sees how he or she was on her own. And I'm a big believer, and no one's going to stop me from saying it, but I really believe a lot of people should not be having children. I wish I were wrong. Why are you having kids? Why? It's going to be magical. Everything's Aussie inherit? Well, anyhow, that's a real tough issue. All right. One of the ways that I start to get clues about a person's chart, because looking at a chart, you're trying to get an understanding of what's going on in the chart, go to their past transits. If you got a person that has a T-square to the sun, or they have a T-square to Venus, and you're really wondering what that's about. Or they got a T-square to Venus, and Venus is opposite Saturn. which is about being happy, stopping myself, being happy, stopping myself, being happy. Well, go back in time because your charts, your software allows you to put the birth chart in the middle and look at the planets going around it. Go back in time when Uranus hit that Venus opposite Saturn. Go back in time and look at when Uranus hit the Saturn. Go back in time when Uranus hit the Venus. What happened? Something always happens. When the major planets hit your planets, something always happens. And they'll always start with you, oh, I'm not sure what happened. Then give them a minute and they'll tell you. What you're doing is you're examining the status and the strength of that natal opposition. You're also getting further natal understanding of what the Venus opposite Saturn means. Say a person has Pluto sitting on their seventh house cusp. Well, you got all these things you imagine about their relationships, tumultuousness, etc. Well, go back and look at what happened when Saturn went over it. What happened when Mars just went over it? What happened when the eclipse just went over it? What happened when Neptune went over it? You're going to hear stories about weird things happening to their relationships. Little clues, little things, little picture, a little hand pecking around for food. Just start pecking here, start pecking here, start pecking here. That's how you start to pick up pieces. That's how you build a chart, by looking at pieces. Well, if I look at you and something hit your Pluto and you went out and married 3 men, or some guy married 3 wives over in Utah, wow, is that an overreaction? What happens if it hits your Pluto and you divorce 5 wives? You see what I'm talking about? It's usually not that extreme, but you're going to get stories, you're going to get feelings, you're going to get et cetera, et cetera. What happens if somebody, for example, Claudia's going through Jupiter sitting on her right now. A lot of good things are happening, and it's very common when Jupiter hits you. What happens if you got your moon and Venus together and transiting Jupiter comes along and sits there for a month? Something good ought to happen. Ask them what happened. Okay? Well, if all kind of money came their way and happy housing came their way and happy boyfriend came their way and all that stuff, that's very common. But if the Venus and the moon were opposite Saturn natally and Jupiter came across and nothing happened, why did nothing happen? You got the moon and Venus opposite Saturn. Jupiter comes across and sitting on the axis. Nothing good happened. Well, why? Do you think Jupiter decided, I'm deciding here, nothing's going to happen? They won't let it happen. Why won't they let it happen? They got an opposition of Saturn to the moon, Saturn to Venus. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that mommy was always sad and I choose to be sad, so I'm close to mommy? Was it mommy was always sad and I learned that I deserve nothing better and I should be sad too? That's what often happens with Saturn and Venus. Oftentimes, mommy was sad, so I'll be sad because at least I'm with mommy. When you're little, you have to become flexible mentally when you're thinking of these energies. Why is this happening to this person? Did my mom tell me that if I was happy, I was a bum? If I was happy, I was irresponsible? You got to dig for this stuff. That's what you're looking for, because in reality, everybody's normal. In reality, everybody's childlike and they want to be loved and they want to have fun. And in reality, situations are going to come to them that should make them blossom. That's simple. When you see a chart that's not blossoming, and you got problems. Then you got problems. And then you got to start to figure out why. You start to figure out why. Secondly, I don't know about you, but people come to you at opportune times. Now, in my 44 years, they're coming to me a lot better in the last 10 years than they did in the first 30 some. They're just coming to me now when they're ready to go. They're ready to go. They're ready to go. They heard about me. I have good track record. I help launch people that come and they're launching and they write me letters and send me postcards from Hawaii, and they're doing really great. And I'm feeling really good about it. But remember, people are coming to you. They're not coming to you when blah planet is sitting on blah. They're coming to you when something's being energized. And you are there to help interpret it. Because people, like I said to you, what got into John? What got into Trudy? What's come over Susan recently? What's come over her? I don't know. She just picked up this vehicle and she's going all around the country. Well, what's come over her? I don't know. Look in the chart. You'll figure it out. You are a manifestation of a planet in somebody's chart. You are a karmic delivery boy. Karma comes through you too, people, including bad karma. Sometimes rarely, you might want to say to somebody, you know, you're really a big drag. You're just a drag. You're a drag to be with. Boom, man. That's really rare, but boy, can it be effective. And a person's heard it before, and a person knows it's coming, and a person's drawing it to themselves. And your job is to deliver karma, not to deliver bad or good. Your job is to deliver what message there is to deliver. Does that make sense to you? It can be heavy duty. Rarely do I say such a thing, but sometimes you might maybe want to get near saying something like that. It all depends. Okay. One of the really useful things that I find, please tell me without long 15 episodes, please tell me in general the history of your past relationships. Well, I had one from 21 to 25 with a Virgo, and this is what happened. And I had one, I was off for 4 or 5 years. Then I had one at 29. So that's really good for you to hear. So then while they're talking, you can be taking the outer planets around to see which planet really stimulated what and what happened. And then you want to hear, you want to listen. We got to become experts for what to listen for. And what we're listening for is these planets are coming by. A blue planet is coming by. Did you turn blue? If a blue planet came by and you turned green, if a blue planet came by and nothing happened, you see my point? Usually most people, Uranus comes by, something exciting happens. Pluto comes by, something intense happens. Usually most people are at least in the right ballpark. So that really can help you a lot. Okay, you had a 17-year relationship with a guy and you couldn't get away. Well, why couldn't you get away? Because he wouldn't let me. Oh boy, now we're looking at Pluto ownership and we're looking at Scorpio stuff. My phone just went weird on me. I don't know why. That's how I keep my monitor. So that can help you a lot too. An awful lot can tell you we were married 31 years. Ooh, why? Because it should have ended at 28. What'd you do 28, 29, 30, 31? What happened? This is in a relationship that isn't good. Okay? In a relationship that is good, you want to see them renew themselves for another 28. But Saturn cycles are very big. But if you got a couple, I got a couple that's married 31 years, I read for recently. What did you do at 28, 29, 30? Oh, we moved into separate bedrooms. So there's no more relationship there. Okay, you're in the same house, got the same name. To take the heat, you couldn't bear the dysfunction in the relationship, so you go off into separate bedrooms. Okay, I'm not here to judge. But when you're 28, when a thing is 28, when a relationship is 28, you got to get used to these cycles by watching them. When you're 28, a natural perforation occurs. I couldn't get away from you for complications at 26. I couldn't get away from you at 25. I don't know why. But at 28, all of a sudden, there's just this natural parting of the Red Sea. It's just easy to get away. It'll all work out. No problem. If you're ready. If you're not ready, if you're really that codependent, then you stick together again, and then you're really in trouble. You just want a warm body next to you. You're really in trouble. Why are you in trouble? Because trouble means you're not in sync with yourself. That's what trouble means. To me, that's the biggest trouble you can have when you're not in sync with yourself or with your creator, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Then the ones come to you. Oh, I wanted you to do a reading for him to see if he's cheating on me. I'm not doing that. Go get a private eye. Yeah. I wanted you to do a reading to see if she really loved me. Ask her. I'm not doing it. Okay. And I will tell you that when you charge $150 for 70 minutes like I do, usually that filters out those types. If you go too low, you're going to get a lot of that. Hey, read my chart, man. Hey, nah. I'm not reading your chart. No. Well, we're having a good time tonight. Lots of different things here.
Hey, Rick, what if you do it for free?
Big mistake, usually. Unless your motivation is good. What am I finding out? And I really found out an awful lot in the past couple of years. Something's happened to me. I don't know what it is. What I found out recently is we're all just okay as we are. That's what I'm finding out. And I'm teaching people how to take everybody apart in little pieces. And at the same time, I'm learning on the big scope, the big scale. We're all pretty much fine the way we are. We all took relationships with bad information. I'm sorry. We all took incarnations with bad information. My opinion. We all took these incarnations thinking that if I take another incarnation and I'm not as mouthy in the next one, or I'm not as greedy in the next one, or maybe I need to work harder in the next one, then everything will be okay. It's a bunch of lies. Almost all of us, from my experience, and that's mixing astrology with spirituality, in my experience, we're just fine and dandy the way we are, and we don't even need to come back. That's what I'm learning. That took a long time to get there. It took a long time. We're fine the way we are. Now, a lot of people come back because they just want to give. Those are the big souls that you meet. They have big hearts and they just want to give back. They're all going to Ukraine now to help out. But so many of us, I study a lot with the 12th harmonic, which is the history of your past lives, as you know, and something I've specialized in. And what I have learned is most of us come back with tremendous amount of guilt. That's really we're not guilty for. That's why I keep merging astrology with the Course in Miracles, because the Course is totally based on guilt and getting free of it. So I'm telling you what I have found. May not be what you find. What I have found is a whole lot of us are walking around with tremendous sense of guilt, and we didn't do anything. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. So I think we're a lot cooler than we think we are. Got more stuff here. Okay, these are your planets. I think this goes along with what John is saying. About 1978, I was studying heavily with Stephen Arroyo's books, and Arroyo taught us humanistic astrology. He was one of the very first to teach us that these planets are your planets. They're not out there, they're yours. These are your energies. When Uranus stirs something up in your life, it's not out there, it's coming through here. You're stirring it up. When Mars comes through, same thing, you're stirring it up. They're your planets. So the more you can get yourself to see this and to get your client to understand this, because most people will see these energies as out there coming to get me, coming to do something to me. It's not how it is. So 2 nights ago, I'm watching a movie. I watch movies, a lot of crime shows, to study the victims and to study the perpetrators. You won't believe this. This is a new one. Guess who's the victim more than anybody? Astrologically, guess which sign is the victim more than any other sign? There's no doubt in my mind.
Taurus.
Taurus. Was that Claudia? Now, I'm not sure why. I've got my reasons to think that they're easy, laid-back people.
Mhm.
I think that once they trust you, they can be naive about it. I think that's part of it. They're just nice people. People do take advantage of them. But I have found a high degree to be Taurus. Okay. Anyhow, I'm watching this show, this horrible show about what happened to this guy. This guy was a nice guy. He was raising a family in the Midwest. And he became a lineman. I am a lineman for the county. So he goes up on the pole, right? And he's dealing with electricity. And he's married to his second wife. And he's got kids and stepkids and all that. And he gets really badly electrocuted. He survives. He starts to get better. A lot of hospitalization, operations, etc. And he goes through tremendous pain. And he gets into drugs. He starts selling drugs. He starts dealing drugs just to have drugs. Gets worse and worse and worse. Ends up quitting all that stuff. Ends up getting better and better. Goes to school, becomes a drug therapist. Marvelous story. He's really on the up and up. He's really turning his life around. Meanwhile, mom and his mom's sister are up to all kind of conniving for his insurance money, right? This awful stuff. Story stops right there. I'll get to the end later. The guy got electrocuted because of a Uranus problem. Period. He got electrocuted because Uranus rules electricity. And when you get zapped by Uranus, it means you have not been moving, and the forces inside you been screaming at you for a long time to get moving, and you keep saying no, and all of a sudden Uranus just blasts your ass. That's how it works. That's how it works. And we're walking around this earth not knowing these things. Can you believe this? Now, if Uranus and Pluto hit you at the same time, you'll probably fry for good. Uranus hits you in the ankles, hits you in the lower leg. I don't know why, it just does. And we're walking around not knowing this knowledge, this very common knowledge. Why do you think I keep doing this every week? I'm trying to show everybody that these things are real. Now, once in a while, I'll say, oh, when was the accident? And I'll look and Uranus was doing nothing. I'll be real perplexed and I'll rub my chin and I'll look at different charts and I'll finally find one. So it's not always straightforward. But Uranus usually hits us because the midlife crisis, etc., is symbolic of us not living for ourselves. We're living for somebody else. We're not being ourselves. So things explode. Ends up in this movie that the mom and the sister end up killing this guy. So it's an extreme story. Very sad, very extreme. But when things happen to you, they happen to you when the big planets are on you. And if it's on you and good things come about it and you sprout, then you're using the energy properly. And when things are on you and they turn negative, it's usually when you've repressed those energies. It's that simple. And that's why I've done so many weeks. Go through my videos. I've done so many videos. What's Mars like? What's Jupiter like? What is Saturn like? What does Uranus want? What does Neptune want when it's positive? What does Neptune do when it's negative? And it's the same guys. It's the same characters. So in this way, it can really help you. If you got a basic understanding of Mars, it doesn't take too much to learn about the positive side and the negative side. If you got an understanding of Uranus, you see the positive, you see the negative. Then you start moving it around to get used to Uranus's speed, because they all go different rates. And you can see it's going through a sign every 7 years, goes through another sign every 7 years. Every 21 years, it's major, 3 sevens. So that's what we're doing. We're watching the speed of the planets. We're combining the energies, etc. Now, the guy who got hit and electrocuted on that pole, I will guarantee you that if he had spent the last several weeks before that accident saying, I'm going to go do this and I'm not going to repress myself anymore, I'm just going to go do this. You've been on my back. I want you off my back. I'm getting you off my back. I'm going to go live my life. If that was the problem, he's going to do it. He ain't getting electrocuted. That's how it works. And it's maddening to be an astrologer, to see this all the time. You can't tell anybody about it. They think you're crazy. I can tell them when the things happen to them, when it happened to the grandma, when it happened to mama, whatever. Just how it works. It is maddening. It really is very hard to live with and know these things and know where to talk about it. When you have a
Trudy has a question.
yeah, Trinity.
Does Uranus connect to your knees?
No, it's Saturn.
That's Saturn.
Oh, it's Saturn. Yes, that's Saturn. Number one thing is the knees.
Okay.
You got knee problems?
Yeah.
Well, look at Saturn. Look at natally where Saturn is. If it's not hitting a natal planet, or you got to look at where Saturn is hitting in your charts, and it may not be your natal chart. It may be hitting one of your harmonic charts. But usually when Saturn's hitting you and your knees are hurting you, there's two things. You can alleviate a lot of problems by flexing it, more walking and stretching. But usually what Saturn means is there's an area in your life that you know you got to take responsibility for, and you're not taking it. That's the problem with Saturn. Saturn's about responsibility. Now, sometimes we take responsibility, we take over responsibility. We're taking more than we really should. And that could be the problem. But it's about getting the proper level of duty and responsibility working in your life.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
All right. Very good.
Hey,
Now-
Rick.
Yes.
So if, for example, you have somebody by transit or natally that is being overly responsible,
Mhm.
that could also, you're saying that could also affect
Yeah, because a lot of times when you're overly
out of
responsible,
balance.
it all has to do with being unreal. Are you being real? Or are you being unreal? And a lot of times people are overly responsible because they want to make sure that you don't go away. It's a hyper type of codependency,
Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah,
you know?
got it.
That's what it can be like.
Mhm.
I was at a festival once. Um, Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, I'm sorry, didn't want to interrupt.
That's all right.
I would love to see an example of when an incident occurred, what the transits were and how they affected or applied.
Oh my God, well, there's thousands of them. I don't even know where to start. I mean, I could just take you in my chart and sit down. We would go over it, and I'd get through thousands of experiences.
Well, I keep looking at, for example, when I broke my leg last year,
Right?
I don't see anything obvious.
You're looking at the natal chart
Well, I'm looking at the transits.
to the natal chart. Are
Right.
you looking at the transits to the sixth harmonic?
No.
Okay. You see, I told you it may be happening in another chart. It may be happening in your progress chart. You've got a natal chart. You've got a progress chart. You've got all these, mainly your 12th and 6th harmonic. So there are 4 other charts that could be activated. But
Okay.
what did you have happen to your body?
I broke 2 bones in my leg.
Where in your leg?
Both were the right leg, and it was the inside, right below the inside ankle, and one of the 2 bones that are below the knee, between the knee and
Okay.
the
Okay. Now I will guarantee you, since it's below the knee is Saturn, Capricorn. Between the knee and the foot, that is Uranus, Aquarius. The foot is Pisces. I don't know how this works, but I guarantee it works. Okay. I will guarantee you. Now you broke it on what kind of event was it?
You mean astrologically?
No, I mean you were mowing the lawn, shoveling snow.
Oh, I just was walking the dogs and had turned around to come back down a saturated hill, and the ground went out from under me.
Okay. Now, what month of the year?
January 17th last year.
I will guarantee you that if you look at January 15th and January 16th and January 17th, up until the hour and the moment of that accident, probably the same day, I will guarantee you that you were considering taking some major action, some major liberating action in your life, and you said, no, you ain't allowed to do that. No, 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 no. And you repressed it. That's what Uranus does. Uranus is not crazy. It just wants to do something that's pro you. And when you don't let it happen, you send those twisted vibrations to that ankle, and that's how it breaks.
Okay.
So what happened?
The only thing I could think of was I was getting ready to take off with the RV.
Okay. Now, the fact is, you're getting ready to take off with the RV, and we know you eventually did.
Right.
But I'm telling you that in between, there were several days where you were, what does a Sagittarian do? We're going to take off with an RV. We're going to travel. They're damn excited. We got the dogs. It's going to be fun, right?
Right.
Where are you going? We don't care. We're just going. That's a Sag response. Something happened during those couple of days where you said, no, I can't do it. I can't afford it. It's not right. Ladies don't do those kind of things. Something stopped you. And that's when the accident happened.
Oh,
Guarantee it.
okay.
We have to talk long and hard about it. It's not easy to see.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Okay.
It was a warning to you. Okay? Warnings can come in different strengths. Some warnings are so bad that it's the big one, like getting electrocuted. But that's somebody who's been ignoring those warnings all along. But I'm telling you, it didn't come to you where I'm going to take the RV, I'm going to leave, and it was all ease and effortless. Something else happened. And right before you hurt yourself, you gave yourself some kind of negative lecture. No, we're not going. No, it's too much fun. No, bullshit. Nah. And your body fought back and said, your body said to you, well, if I can't get you to liberate me, then you have no use for these damn legs. That's how it works. Now, your difficulty is you've got a T-square to Neptune, so you don't always see things clearly. You don't always see things vividly. Your typical Sag, you're okay. T-square to Neptune, you don't see things clearly. You see things fuzzy, or you see what you want to see. But I'm telling you that at that last minute of struggle, that you hurt your leg, maybe during those next few days or next few weeks, you conquered the problem, said, I am going to go. I am going to get past it. But what I'm telling you, it's probably deeper than that. It probably had to do with something parental. Because taking off in that RV was symbolic for you going, nyeh, to your parents. It was symbolic. The hell with you. I don't care what your cautions are. I'm going. I'm telling you, that's where you look.
Okay.
And I'm absolutely sure.
Okay.
Just am. Now, some people, for example, a boyfriend comes into Claudia's life and she's got Pluto all over you, and the guy is very scorpionic. The guy is going to come into her life as a channel of Pluto, and he's going to teach her Plutonic things. Usually, teach her about love and the depths of passion, etc. He may be there to help her, to hurt her, or both. But it ain't gonna be easy.
I
Huh?
had that happen during my Pluto
course it-
opposition.
Of course it does. Of course it does. But what I'm saying to you is, let's say you resolve that issue with this guy, and 6 years later he comes back into your life. The same guy might be Uranus this time.
Mhm.
People are expressions of archetypal forces. And maybe this time he comes by as Uranus, and he's there for what? He's there to teach you that you're exciting and that you're interesting and that you really are unique and you should be yourself. Not the lesson at all that Pluto teaches.
Right.
Okay? I'm giving you bits and pieces to look at. I'm giving you bits and pieces because when you're reading a chart, you're going to see things that you know. You're going to see a lot of things in there you just don't know yet. I still see lots in the chart that I'm not sure of. And I let it be. Or I'm getting pretty good to the point where I got an idea. Now, you should have an idea. If Mars is opposite Saturn in somebody's chart, you should have an idea generally what the problem is. And I can't spoon feed you every simple combination because it's just too many. You have to get an idea by reading about it. So if somebody's got Mars opposite Saturn in their chart, what are we looking for? Take a risk, everybody. Mars is opposite Saturn in your chart. It's just us girls sitting here. What's the possible problem?
Sudden, unexpected stuff. Possible
Where did you get the word sudden?
Oh, I don't.
Sudden is Uranus.
Oh, so then that's not right.
No, Mars opposite Saturn.
You got your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And I'll say to my clients, why are you driving with your foot on the brakes? I'm not driving with my foot on the brakes. I'm not driving with my foot on the brakes. Well, yeah, you are. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. And you talk for a while. You say, damn, my brakes are worn out. It's because they're so used to it. That's why they deny. They're just used to it. Till you show them their 19 last pairs of brakes that are worn out from riding them. They're not comfortable with go, go, go. They want to go, sort of go, sort of go, sort of go. That's exactly right, Erica. And they've been taught through copying or through verbal or whatever, that you better not just go, go, go. You better be careful. And every time you walk out this door, you be careful, honey. That's how you don't talk to an Aries. That's how you don't talk to somebody with Mars opposite Saturn. Now, some people, Mars, Saturn, it works fine. They go, but they're a little careful. They go, but a little bit careful. That's why the orb is so important. If it's 1 degree away or 0 degrees away, you got a real problem. If it's 8 degrees away, it's not so bad.
What if it's generational planets?
Well, generational stuff happens also. Yes, that's even harder. Yes, we see a theme of alcoholism in the family, a theme of beating up the wife in the family. They show up through charts after chart after chart. That stuff's much harder to ascertain. Takes much more experience. So what do you do with somebody, Erica, that's got Mars opposite Saturn? You teach them when you go, you're going to have your foot on the brake. You don't teach them throw the Saturn away because you're not going to get rid of one of your natal qualities. But you can teach them, hey, when you're going, could you just kind of tap the brakes lightly and don't slam them? Okay. And when you're going, don't just try to peel out. You got to talk them into using those energies kind of at the same time.
Use
It
the
makes
stick
sense.
shift and start out in first gear.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. But it just makes common sense. Okay, for example, you're raising a daughter and she's got Venus, I don't care what sign it's in, she's got Venus square to Neptune. Okay, these are basic aspects. And we're not going to talk about it, how exact it is, but say it's 5 degrees. I use 9 degrees for most part, but you got Venus next to Neptune. Now you're raising this daughter and she's 16. So she's starting to get into the date thing. What's the problem with the Venus square to Neptune?
Does she think that everybody is, a trustworthy person? And that
Exactly. Exactly. And she's open to being deceived. She's open to being used. She's open to being gaslighted. You're exactly right. You see, if you get these basic combinations of planets, then you could start building from there. But you don't take the Venus square to Neptune, start talking to her about it already. You kind of sneak up on it. You got to say, well, how you been with the boyfriends? Well, I got a tendency to bring the wrong ones home. That's Venus Neptune. Why? Because I only see the best in everybody. And I'll write to you when you're in jail. No, don't say that. Don't write to him in jail. Get somebody who's out of jail. But you guys got the right idea. You get the right idea. Now, on the good side, she's probably lovely. She's probably a romantic. She wants to be treated gently. She's probably very idealistic and loves photography and loves ballet and loves flowers. But you've got to go into their past history and find out what have the women done in this family? Have the women laid down for the men? Have the women overcompromised? See, when it comes down to it, you're not dealing with that many energies. The Venus and Mars and Saturn and Pluto, they're not that many energies. And you look at both sides of it, even that's not that many energies. But you got to get an understanding of what Uranus does. Why does he do it? What does he do when he's working well? What does he do when he's not working well? What does he do when he's not even noticed? That's the three things that happen with the planets. You're on track and you're surfing with that energy. You're fighting that energy and it's beating you up. Or you don't even notice it. That's a whole different problem. So you're all getting the story. So it's not that I'm such an expert of all these planets. It's that I've played with them long enough. I've played with them. I've looked at charts, and so many charts I've looked at, and I'll go, I'm not sure what that is. I don't like that. It's sort of like she's overly romantic. It's sort of like she doesn't have much self-respect. I might not say anything. But I'm registering it. I'm learning about it. And the way you learn, you just start to have a discussion with the client. A discussion. Boy, what I'm hearing from you is you're acting an awful lot like your mother did. Oh, your mother had an alcoholic husband? Oh, you just married an alcoholic guy? Wonder why that is. She started a discussion. Well, she just thought the best of everybody. Why'd you do that? Usually it's because people are not as altruistic as you think. Usually it's because that's how she kept being accepted. Like cancer people. I have a lot of cancer people who are known for being fabulous listeners. I see this all the time. They're really good listeners, and it's very nice. But a lot of time, they're listening, and they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. They're listening because they don't want to be abandoned. That's the key thing with a cancer. They don't want to be abandoned. Who does? Yes, John. You're muted, I think. Yeah.
I sort of think about myself as a symphony. I've got all kind of different things in tension, their opposition, but it's a beautiful sound. It's like a great symphony, but I have to have everything in balance. So if I have something that's really strong in one way, I have to balance it off with something else. I got to get the black keys and the white keys.
Okay, but now the symphony is definitely coming to you from the multitude of Gemini energies, but the Gemini has no idea about the symphony playing together. So you must be getting the symphony archetype from some Libra energy in your chart. I don't think it's the Pluto either. It's a Libra quality to want to balance it all together. So we would look for Libra energy.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have very good insight into your chart. And a lot of times people have very good insight into their chart because they're very balanced.
Well, that's the thing. I've done all kind of oppositional things. I went to the seminary. I became a lawyer. I was
okay.
book salesman.
Yeah, it's okay. Geminis want to try this. They probably have a lot of Sag in your chart. They want to try this. They want to try that. Nothing's wrong with that. But what you have said to me is that I want to explore all the different things in the world. But what happens with that eventually through study is after a while, you've got enough data. You've got enough input. What's the reason to go get some more? What for? The Gemini problem, if I go over one more fence, I'm going to be richer. If I go over one more fence, I'm going to be more golden. No. Usually it's you're escaping. There comes a time with Gemini energy that you need to stop and you need to integrate. And it needs to add up to something. And especially with your Scorpio energy. Let's take a look and see. I'll look at that and we'll do it in private. So I'll say good night tonight to our wonderful people logging in from Facebook, and thank you. Next week, I'm going to try to have a guest be a registrant to my newsletter, and you'll find out who that will be, and they'll find out also on Facebook. Say good night to my YouTubers, and thank you.